Picture this for a second. You are sitting at your desk, you've got this massive project looming, and your computer screen is just an absolute disaster zone.
Oh, yeah. We all know that feeling.
Right? You are looking at, I don't know, dozens of open browser tabs. You've got stacks of printed paper teetering on the edge of your workspace.
Endless, entirely disorganized digital notes scattered across like 3 different apps.
Exactly. You're just drowning in information. You're feeling completely overwhelmed by the sheer volume of data you need to process before you can even, begin to do the actual work.
It's the classic knowledge worker bottleneck.
We have all been there.
Yeah.
But the source materials we're digging into today propose a solution to this exact bottleneck. And the premise is really fascinating. It's basically, what if you had a personal AI assistant that didn't just organize all of that chaotic information for you, but actually understood the semantic relationships within it?
Yeah, that is the core scenario we're analyzing today. The tool in question here is NotebookLM, which the texts describe as a grounded AI productivity powerhouse.
A grounded AI.
Right. And our mission for this deep dive is to explore exactly how you can use this specific architecture to transition from that state of pure information overload into a state of impactful action.
Okay, but before we map out that workflow, I think we really need to establish the foundational technology here because it fundamentally shifts how you interact with the software.
Right.
The sources heavily emphasize this concept of a grounded AI notebook.
Right.
Because we are obviously all familiar with open-ended LLMs at this point, standard chatbots. But this architecture is fundamentally different.
It is. It operates as a closed system knowledge graph. So because it is grounded, it effectively neutralizes the hallucination issue that completely plagues standard chatbots.
Which is huge.
It's massive. It's strictly indexing the semantic boundaries you set, rather than pulling from its broader LLM training data. If you ask it a question, it is only querying the specific documents, the transcripts, the notes that you have explicitly provided to it.
Which completely shifts the entire value proposition for you. I mean, if you are using a standard AI for research, a huge portion of your cognitive load is always dedicated to skepticism.
Yes, fact-checking everything.
Exactly. You always have to verify, is this output a factual synthesis, or is it just a highly probable string of words it generated from, the wider internet?
And by defining the boundaries of its universe yourself, you are ensuring the insights are hyper-relevant to your specific project. Every single insight is accurate to your documents.
Right. And we really have to look at the input flexibility here, which the sources highlight as a massive context window.
It's not just pasting text.
No, we aren't just talking about pasting a few paragraphs into a prompt. The context window allows for a blend of completely different mediums. So you can upload a 500-page textbook, raw voice memos, a slide deck, and a transcript of a 2-hour video, and the AI just holds all of those disparate formats in its working memory simultaneously.
It synthesizes vast amounts of chaotic data without causing you to feel overwhelmed. It finds the big picture.
But let me play devil's advocate for a second, though. If I just dump 50 messy, unorganized PDFs and a dozen rambling voice memos into this workspace, doesn't it just give me messy, unorganized answers? Like, how does it actually synthesize that level of chaos without losing the thread?
That is exactly why the framework starts where it does. The first phase, curate, is entirely about intentionality. The grounded nature of the AI is its greatest strength, but it implies a really strict rule, which is garbage in, garbage out.
Can't read your mind.
Exactly. It relies exclusively on what you feed it, which means the output is entirely dependent on the source quality.
And the sources make a really strong point about this. Building the knowledge base isn't just a matter of dragging and dropping your entire hard drive into the notebook. You're acting as the editor.
You have to be rigorous.
You do. You have to be rigorous about curating accurate, updated, and relevant information. If you upload a regulatory document from 2022 alongside one from 2024, the AI might synthesize conflicting information unless you are actively managing that context.
Precisely. You are essentially building an index of trust. Think of it like assembling a panel of experts for a symposium.
Oh, like that analogy.
You wouldn't invite someone to the panel who is working with outdated facts. You curate the best possible inputs, those diverse formats we just mentioned, so that when you move to the next step, your foundation is rock solid.
And that brings us to phase 2, which is learn. This is where the workflow shifts from passive organization, like just dumping files into a cloud folder, into active synthesis. The source materials describe the AI in this phase not as a search engine, but as an active research partner.
And that distinction is vital. A search engine relies on keyword matching. It basically tells you that the word revenue appears on page 42 and page 108.
Which is helpful, but limited.
Right. But an AI research partner operates semantically. It actually understands the context. So instead of searching for a single word, you're asking complex, synthesizing questions across your curated materials.
Let's ground this in a real scenario to see how the active learning phase actually plays out. Let's say you are doing a deep dive on a competitor.
Okay, classic use case.
Right. You've curated your sources. You uploaded their latest 10K SEC filing. You grabbed a transcript of a recent YouTube interview with their CEO, and you threw in a rough voice memo you recorded after talking to a mutual supplier. How do you actually interact with those sources?
Well, in a traditional workflow, you would read the 10K. Then you'd watch the video, listen to your memo, and try to manually connect the dots on a legal pad.
Taking hours.
Taking all day. With this tool, you prompt the AI to find the friction points for you. You might ask something like, contrast the CEO's forward-looking public statements in the YouTube interview with the operational risk factors listed in the 10K, and cross-reference that with the supply chain delays mentioned in my voice memo.
That is incredible, because that completely shifts the bottleneck. Instead of the bottleneck being your data retrieval and your physical reading time, the bottleneck just becomes your own question quality.
Exactly. The AI instantly processes the 10K, the transcript, the memo, and it outputs a synthesized analysis pointing out, hey, the CEO is promising Q3 delivery, but your memo and the 10K both indicate severe supplier shortages that make that timeline highly unlikely.
And that leads to a feature the sources heavily emphasize, which they call dynamic evolution. Because when the AI generates that brilliant synthesis about the Q3 delivery discrepancy, that insight doesn't just disappear when you close the chat.
No, it doesn't.
You can pin that specific answer, saving it as an entirely new source document right there within the notebook.
So the output becomes a new input.
Yes, your knowledge base is organically compounding over time. You started with raw data. The AI helped you extract a strategic insight. And by saving that insight back into the system, the notebook itself grows smarter.
It evolves.
It does. The next time you ask a related question, the AI is pulling from the 10K, the video, the memo, and the synthesized analysis it previously generated.
It's essentially a second brain that is actively thinking alongside you and keeping a permanent record of its own realizations, which is fascinating. And the text notes that you don't have to keep this isolated to yourself either. You can share these dynamically evolving notebooks with a team.
Right. Team alignment is a huge factor here.
It is. If you share that competitor analysis notebook with your sales team, everyone is operating from the exact same grounded truth.
No more guessing.
Exactly. When a sales rep asks the notebook a question about the competitor's weak points right before a client pitch, they are getting answers based on the collective, curated intelligence of the entire team, including those synthesized insights that you saved earlier.
It eliminates the friction of team members working from outdated email attachments or conflicting interpretations of the raw data. Everyone is literally on the same page.
At the same dynamic page.
Okay, so you've curated your trusted data, you've actually learned from it by asking high-level synthesizing questions, and your knowledge base is evolved. But having a really smart notebook isn't the finish line here. Phase 3 of the framework is create and act. Because let's face it, all of this synthesized knowledge doesn't mean much if it just sits on a server.
Right. The transition from insight to tangible action is where the ROI of this entire process becomes visible for you. You are transforming your deep understanding into assets, into strategies, and into tasks, all within the exact same workspace where the learning happened.
And the sources detail an impressive speed and versatility here. Let's talk about content generation. You can pivot instantly from analysis to drafting.
Seamlessly.
Yeah, you've done the competitor analysis. Now you literally just prompt the AI with, based on the supply chain insights we just uncovered, draft a 2-page internal briefing for the sales team on how to position our reliability against the competitors' likely Q3 delays.
And it drafts it in seconds, pulling only from the boundaries of your curated notebook.
But it goes way beyond text generation. I was geeking out over this part. The capability to create dynamic media completely alters how we share information. We're seeing a massive shift in how people prefer to consume complex data. And the tool addresses this by allowing you to generate comprehensive audio overviews based strictly on your notes.
That is wild. And it can even produce AI-generated videos designed to explain complex ideas found within your notebook. It takes deeply researched, dense information and translates it into engaging, accessible multimedia formats automatically. So if you have a highly technical document that a non-technical stakeholder needs to understand, generating an explanatory video directly from the grounded source material bridges that communication gap almost instantly.
The visual possibilities are equally compelling. The sources talk about generating data visualizations too.
Yeah.
You can instruct the system to build mind maps, infographics, and charts. It takes these dense textual insights and simplifies them visually.
Which is such a time saver.
Huge. You aren't opening a separate design software and trying to manually map out the connections. The AI structures the visual based on the semantic relationships it already understands.
Which segues directly into the final piece of the create and act phase, which the texts refer to as closing the loop.
Closing the loop.
Yeah, because advanced organization is often the hardest part of any major project. You have all the insights, you have the visuals, but how do you actually execute?
Right. What does closing the loop actually look like when you are staring at a screen full of generated insights?
It means instructing the AI to build the bridge between the research and your calendar. You take that 50-page synthesis of notes, ideas, and strategic pivots, and you literally tell the AI to turn it into a structured Monday morning action plan.
Wow.
It can generate comprehensive project workflows, it can delegate steps based on the parameters you set, and create step-by-step to-do lists. It manages the complexity of the execution phase based entirely on the research phase. To really test the limits of this, the sources provide a highly specific real-world case study. While this workflow applies to entrepreneurs, researchers, and creatives across the board, they specifically drill down into how financial advisors utilize it. And the selection of financial advisors as the primary example is very deliberate. It's essentially the ultimate stress test for the system.
The stakes are so high.
Exactly. Financial professionals operate in deeply complex, data-heavy environments where the regulatory stakes are incredibly high.
Right. Because if a generic, open-ended LLM hallucinates a historical fact while you are outlining a novel, it's an annoyance. But if an AI hallucinates a compliance metric or a tax code in a financial report,
it is an absolute disaster.
Right. The professional liability is massive.
That is exactly why the grounded nature of the tool is the only reason it can be deployed in this sector. By using Notebook LM, financial advisors ensure that the risk of external hallucinations is fully neutralized. They curate a fortress of trusted data, internal market analyses, client portfolios, dense regulatory updates.
Think about a financial advisor dealing with a new 200-page SEC regulation update. Normally, that is an entire weekend lost to reading, highlighting, and trying to parse the legal jargon.
Nobody wants to do that.
No.
But with this workflow, they upload the massive PDF into the notebook and immediately move to the learn phase. They can just ask, what are the 3 new compliance hurdles regarding disclosure for my high net worth clients? It turns a 10-hour reading and comprehension task into a 10-minute strategic action. They aren't bypassing the knowledge, right? They're using the AI to navigate directly to the operational impact of the document.
And then they move straight into the create and act phase. They use the content generation feature to draft client-facing summaries of those regulations in plain English. They use the dynamic media tools to create an audio overview of the market trends to send to their team.
They generate mind maps to visually explain a new asset allocation strategy during a client meeting.
Finally, they use the advanced organization features to turn their raw meeting notes into structured CRM updates and automated follow-up workflows for their practice. The entire business loop is closed within one grounded environment.
It's so efficient. And the implications of this case study extend far beyond the finance sector.
Oh, absolutely.
If a grounded AI can handle the rigorous, zero-tolerance demands of SEC regulations and complex market analysis without making mistakes, the utility for your own personal research, your business strategy, or your creative projects is just vast.
I should also note that the authors of the guide we reviewed today actually provide sample cases, and they host a free membership site designed to help users master this specific workflow.
Yeah.
So there are really deep resources available for those looking to implement this methodology.
It demonstrates that we are really looking at a comprehensive shift in how knowledge work is fundamentally structured today.
Yeah. To bring all of this together, we're looking at a system that effectively replaces the chaotic multi-app workspace. By utilizing a grounded AI, you have a tool that executes a logical progression. You curate the highest quality sources. You actively learn from them by prompting the AI to synthesize and cross-reference. And you create tangible assets from text reports to dynamic audio to structured workflows that allow you to act.
The ultimate takeaway from the source material is really about reclaiming your cognitive bandwidth. The goal is to leverage this architecture to clear away the friction of information overload, allowing you to focus your energy on the high-level strategic work and the creative leaps that only you can make.
It's the end of staring at 50 disorganized tabs and feeling completely paralyzed by where to begin.
We are talking about fundamentally altering our relationship with information processing. If we increasingly rely on a grounded AI to perfectly digest, synthesize, and map out all our complex information, how might that change the way our own human brains process learning? Does having a perfect external understanding tool free up our minds for higher-level creative leaps? Or do we risk losing the cognitive benefits of manually struggling through the chaos of raw information ourselves?